Yeah, sorry. Like I was saying, the agenda and this catch-up call is basically for a general, catch up from different regions. If you're new to this, it's going to be as an unconference agenda. So you'll have to put your agenda on this particular Google Sheet before the call starts, so that if in case you want to speak about it, you have the time, so that as a collective, we're able to sort of achieve this in a more optimized fashion. So that's a little bit from my end to start the call, but I'm going to pass it on to Dipesh, who's going to be the first presenter.
Hi, Richa.
Hi.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I had just two updates for the day. One was that I was made aware of the fact that there are a bunch of influencers, people like Veer Das, Kunal Kamra, have been raising a lot of funds, and they've been looking for projects like these where they can put these funds to. So one was that, and the other was I was also made to, like we discussed it yesterday as well, that if we are making things and if we are decentralizing it, we need to make sure that we have foolproof the whole process. And just as a side thought, I was speaking with one of my mentors, and she told me that you should also be looking at maybe having some sort of a legal shield to have political safeguards, because now that the election has done, anything that you try to do in states where it sounds very ridiculous, but it's a thought. If you are trying to do something in states where BJP has lost, you maybe want to make sure that nothing that we do in this project can be tampered with. So maybe that's also something that
the page, just FYI, you're recorded.
yeah, I know. But so the point is that maybe we should
Watch
offer
speak.
some sort of legal help right from the beginning, so that we are aware and we take the necessary steps to make sure that our effort is not hindered because of anything. Yeah, so that's just those two things. How can we reach out to people who have the funds and want to pump it into something, and how can we have some sort of legal shield or political safeguards?
Okay, that's awesome. No, that's great. I think that those are great pointers, and a couple of things on that, Dipesh. Actually, while you mentioned Veer Das, I wanted to also sort of say that there's a bunch of comedians, Abish, Abish, and what's the other guy's name?
Ruben, Abish.
What is that other dude's name? Sorry, 1 second. I'm just referring to, I keep forgetting. I'm sorry.
Okay, cool. So
Kanan Gill. Yeah, Kanan Gill, Abish, and a few others are doing actually a fundraiser for the M19 Collective. So that's going to happen on May 13, and they're doing the fundraising in the US. So they're already, and they're also possibly getting an American stand-up to add to that. So it's going to be happening on the 13th of May. We'll share more information as we have confirmation. But yeah, that's in the process. So, but yeah, it's a great point. And if you think there are more people who could add value to the fundraiser, please let's get connected and let's get that going. On the funding piece, like I was also mentioning yesterday, we're raising funds for the campaign to get the labs started in terms of prototyping as well. So any funds that are coming in to validated hubs, and I'm sure Abhi and Bhanu are going to talk about the process, will be our intention is to give it out to more and more labs to facilitate their initial prototypes so that they can get started pretty quickly. So while the fundraiser, the Keto fundraiser is one part of it, we are also hooked up to a whole lot of people in the whole network where we're trying to raise funds for different states and about 100 units per state at least. So anybody who has any funding, value add or any conversation, we can talk about that on the fundraiser subgroup, and we can take those conversations forward independently as a group and things like that. So the idea of the collective effort is to pass on that for 100 units per state. So each hub and lab is benefited out of the fundraiser to support at least their initial prototypes and a few more units after that at least. That's our intention.
Okay.
Fair. And then on the legal safeguard as well, I think we're talking to a couple of lawyers on the side to understand how this works, because obviously it's going to be something that might just be tested with doctors in the beginning?
Yeah, so I've been speaking to a lawyer who actually reached out to us as well. He's been an advisor for many years and he's quite senior. He's looking at, I didn't speak at this angle that you're talking about. I think that makes sense. And we should have a catch-up call, I think tomorrow sometime, once again, to sort of iron out some of these things before I speak to him again. But I was speaking to him more on the safeguards in the sense that all the labs should be able to get their certifications, or how do they get certified to be able to start using them and things like that, from and a QC, QA sort of a point, because this is going to be one very large decentralized approach towards a medical, sort of not really a medical device, because we can't actually call this a medical device.
Right.
We'll be calling it something else. That's what we're figuring out. Getting a medical device approval is going to be next to impossible. So yes, we'll have to call it something else, but still get the right data and get doctors who approve to use it.
Right.
So great. Point taken, Dipesh. I think let's get on the subgroups as well, and let's have a conversation on the fundraisers and the legal piece. And those are great points to start with. All right. Should I pass it on to the next speakers, Dipesh, if that's okay?
Yeah, that would
Okay.
be. We can have the further discussion on the group.
Okay, perfect. So Anul, your hand is raised. Is it something that would you like to say right now?
Just very quickly, because I remembered, we can call it a recreational oxygen generator. That's not a medical device.
Yeah, exploring that option. Great.
Yeah, we are exploring. Perfect. Okay, got it. So perfect.
Sorry, I'm adding that the issue there was something in particular that I was basically told is that what if somebody were to use it and let's say they were already severe and they die because of it? We shouldn't be having a situation where somebody says, I died because of using this.
No, agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly
That's
what
exactly
we're talking
why-
to the doctors
yeah.
about, because so honestly, the way that we are in the state that we are, as difficult as it is to say it, people are going to die. And that's the same thing that happened in the United States as well. And the guys from the Oxycate as well face that. People are going to die. As long as our odds are good, that means that if you're able to say that, okay, fine, 10 people that use the device, one of them died, that's what's going to, I guess, matter, because at the end of the day, people who have reached a very, very severe state it is hard for them to recover back completely. So oxygen concentrators help. They need oxygen cylinders at that point, different things. So we're researching and at the same time talking to a lawyer as well for the same thing, so that yes, it does not become another agenda.
Yeah, just for the benefit of the group as well, a couple of insights that I've collected from a few conversations that I've had. There are a couple of use cases. There are a couple of, sorry, please mute yourselves, guys. Getting a lot of, yeah, there are a couple of use cases just for everyone's reference. And of course, we're putting this out as well. Number one is when your oxygen concentration drops to 92%, right? That's when the complication starts, because at 92%, the chances of the erratic shift from 92 to any other concentration level is the chances are pretty high. So that's when it possibly is going to be also possibly a home use device where you can keep it stabilized at 92%, but you can't keep it going on that same level for a long time because you will need an oxygen cylinder at some point. So one thing that we are trying to primarily achieve with this is offloading the infrastructure of the very loaded hospitals at the moment, who have ICU beds, who have patients, but who also have so many more patients who are lying on the floor of the hospitals. It's a very dire situation. So any offloading at this point will be essential. And the oxygen concentrators act as a secondary aid for offloading, at least is what we understand. The second use case of this is to go from when people are in, when they're moving from high oxygen requirement to low oxygen requirement, is when you use it at hospitals as well, because that's when you're trying to sort of offload the oxygen cylinders, which is again an issue these days because the oxygen cylinders that are coming to hospitals don't have a regulator, so they're not able to even use that. So there's another big, that's coming up as a secondary problem as well. And of course, it's also used, the oxygen concentrator is used as a post-recovery device as well. So again, all of these efforts are towards offloading the really minimal health infrastructure that we have in this country, and it's very weak at the moment. So any additional aid is what the doctors are looking at, and it's a dire situation. Hence, all efforts in that direction will be needed, and that's what the whole thought with the oxygen concentrator is at the moment, right? So that's just for everyone's reference, whoever is on this call and possibly has not had the opportunity to go through the use cases. These are some of the insights for everyone's reference. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this conversation now and pass it on to Abhi and Bhanu because they have a couple of updates for everyone.
Cool. I'll start. So we have about 42 labs, I think, at this moment. Let me just confirm the shell number. Sorry, it's at 47. Okay, I lost the screen sharing. All right. Are you handing it over to me?
No, I'll share the screen. Do you want to share your screen, or I'm okay with putting up the agenda if you want?
Yeah, please go ahead and share your screen. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, we have about 47 labs signed up, and Abhi went through the pain of inviting all the lab coordinators through the state Telegram channel. Not the state one, but the national one. We are calling it M19 OxyKids Lab Coordination, but there are some Telegram usernames which are wrong or inaccurate. So we'll be reaching out to them and requesting them to join them as well. You can click the pin message on that group, whoever is in the lab coordination group. Richa, I don't know if you can bring it up quickly.
Yeah,
Just search for the lab coordination one.
Yeah, I'm here. This is the one.
No, the one bottom left, bottom from first. Bottommost.
Okay. Oh yeah, this one, sorry.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Just click the pin message. Yeah, please scroll down a little so we can see everything at once. Okay, so we have links through to read through what the initiative is about. So please do share it with your friends and others and whoever wants to know more about the initiative, why we are doing this. Second is how to get started on the lab community, local community lab. Next is reviewing the onboarding checklist and the lab coordination material. This is a drive where you'll find 3 files: the BOM, README, and the daily updates for the lab specific file. Please scroll down. This is the link to the daily 9 p.m. call, same as this one. The lab registration link is where you want your friends or whoever else want to create a new lab. Please do ask them to register there. The last one, can you please click that? That's a document where we are tracking all these state level Telegram channels. We didn't want to spam everyone, so this is a private link, and whoever is creating a state level group, please ping it back in the lab coordinators channel. I'll just add this to add the link to link in this document. So from a coordination standpoint, we'll be using this group, and what people are also doing is they're creating state specific hubs. So if your state isn't existing currently, you can go ahead and create your state specific one and just add the other ones, add the other labs into that. If you don't know where to find other labs, let me just ping the link here directly. Gallery, share view, copying. I'm pasting it in the Zoom chat. So you can just go ahead and do that. And the next item on my agenda is, maybe I can just come back to the point C once Abhi walks through his item.
Thanks, Manu. So I think I see there's few folks who are joining this call for the first time. Probably many of them are lab enthusiasts who have signed up for opening up labs. We have 47 signups in 14 states, I believe. So that's awesome. We were targeting for like 30 by next Sunday, and we've already shot that up by like in 3 days or so. In terms of like questions for folks, how do I get started? Where do I like, who do, you know, like literally from like, what's the next step for me? What can I do and what kind of help this group is offering? So we will be doing a debrief call for the folks just to provide them that support. That will be a separate call than this. And then we'll walk them through that process. I know there's a lot of docs, a lot of links, and it's easy to get confused. So we will do that debriefing session most likely tomorrow. Then the other thing is, how do we like, what's the next step in terms of training and all? You know, what are the tools required? What are the skills required? So we will be putting some of those soft skills training on the YouTube channel. I don't think we need to wait for full engineering thing on that part. There are certain things that we can complete, and those are the videos we will set up. And the target for those is also to complete in the next couple of days and start sharing those here. And then engineering, I think, is also working in parallel to get some of those. I think there's a hackathon set up for tomorrow. So I encourage everyone to join that. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be very informative, I believe. So that's that. And then those are the two things I want to call out, I think, for now.
Abhi, the hackathon that you're referring to is the hack chat with Mahir?
Is that a hack chat? Okay, maybe that's what it is. Maybe I misread it, but yeah, there's something scheduled for 5th of May, right? I think that's, I don't know if it's a hackathon or a hack chat.
Yeah, I think it's the hack. I don't know. Anul, is that the one?
Yeah, that's right. There's a hack chat on hackaday.io where Mahir will be, it's basically text oriented. So people can ask questions over text and he'll reply back on text. It's not audio or video at all.
I see. So then I stand corrected. I think we shouldn't, I don't know if, I mean, I would still encourage people if they have questions to join, but I think we could probably cut short to getting straight to video trainings and, you know, one-on-ones if that's more efficient for this group.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think the other piece that I will add maybe at the end, though, I think you guys can finish this point, and then there are a few things that actually I wanted to add as well. So I'll add to this agenda at the end.
Cool. The point number 3 I wanted to bring up was to finalize the meet and greet session. This is a session where we'll have all the lab coordinators at one place. And
Hanu, your voice is a little feeble. I don't know. I can't hear you very well.
okay, hang on. Just change my location. All right, is this better?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, fine. So I was saying we need to finalize the time of meet and greet session. This will be with the lab coordinators. And it will be the lab onboarding team, you, Vaibhav, Dipesh, me and Abhi, and whoever else wants to be part of it. Just walking them through the expectations and all the, showing them the walkthrough of different documents, what to do and things like that. We need to finalize the time for that.
All right, perfect. Sounds good. So tomorrow is when we catch up with all the registered lab coordinators, right?
Cool. Is everyone good with tomorrow?
Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you.
No, I'm just saying, if everyone is good with tomorrow, we can just go ahead and communicate that.
Yeah, can we get a thumbs up if any lab coordinators on this group? If you can say yes. If not, then we'll just have a chat on the, okay, 2 thumbs up. I've gotten 3. Okay, 4, 5 people have said, okay, so maybe we can start with 1 tomorrow, and then if need be, then again, we can repeat that maybe day after.
Okay.
Oh.
Thanks.
One little a thought by Anul over here was that to be able to have a roundup with all the technical guys in all the labs that have especially reached an advanced stage or have started prototyping.
Yeah.
To look at what are the shortcomings that each of us are facing at the moment.
Yeah, that could be another meeting for tomorrow. With the engineering teams that have progressed with their prototypes at the moment. So if you've started prototyping or if you have almost finished prototyping, we just want to have a quick roundup with you to understand what are the shortcomings of the current design, if there is any, what we should be wary of, etc. So if anyone on the group who's started prototyping, please give us a thumbs up on this, at least on this call. Okay, one. Okay, I've got 3 thumbs up and then we'll coordinate with the rest as well. So a quick short roundup as well on engineering and the prototype shortcomings. Okay, fair. Bhanu, anything else?
Not from my side, unless people want to hear about some updates, but really not much to report on today.
Yeah, that's fine, Anu. I was just checking with Bhanu because he had a few more things on the agenda. So Bhanu, if any more updates?
Yeah, I wanted to go to the point number 3. Abhi, are you done with number 2?
Yes, go ahead, Bhanu.
Thanks. So at least one lab reached out to me, actually asking me where can I look for funds. He's someone who has contributed with the face shields last time in Kerala, and
Sure.
was asking me where to look for support. I think we should document it, and if there are ways they should reach out to us, we should also let them know.
Okay. Funding support, I think we'll put a structure together. I mean, I'm working on how we can validate the funding and of course, from what we've raised and how we can allocate that. Possibly an open document for people to sort of look at funding support from our fundraiser as well. While of course, if there are any local supports, that's of course open to all independently. But at least from the fundraiser that we're doing, I think what we can put together is an open document on how you can reach out for funding support from the M19 collective.
Cool. That sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. And there's some open questions.
I just added this because of my curiosity. So I think it'll be nice if we can put high-level timelines. I know timelines can shift. It's all volunteer-based, and there's a lot of interesting challenges being solved. So putting something so that when can labs start? When can bombs be ready? When can we do some of this might already be in flight, even at the lab level. But I think we should probably put something somewhere saying these are the finalized bombs, these are the finalized vendors. Something like that.
Yeah. I think from a high level timeline perspective, from the sourcing and the engineering side, I think we will be able to add, we are looking to have a discussion tomorrow with the prototyping teams as well. So maybe on the high level timelines, if we can put this tomorrow, if you can put this under my name, I can update this on this sheet as well so that we can just catch up on this, the timelines at least tomorrow, once we have some basic updates from the prototyping labs. Yeah, these two on me for in tomorrow to be updated. Okay. Lab training videos. Okay, onboarding debrief for lab owners tomorrow. I think we can select time on the group. Abhi, Bhanu, maybe that's also your.
Oh, I didn't know the E1 was on me. Okay.
Okay. Okay, perfect. We have two hands which are who've raised your hands. If you have something to say, Ankit and A2C something person, please go ahead. Ankit Agarwal.
Yeah, I'd just go ahead then. Hello, Richa.
Yeah. Oh,
So
hi. Ankit.
basically, I have a couple of questions. The first one to do with funding. Should I get it out of the way right away, or should I like get back to you tomorrow with the fundraising session you're gonna have?
Yeah, if we can discuss that tomorrow, that'll be great, because once we put on the structure, we can have this conversation offline to understand if there is anything specific that you want me to answer.
No issue. I have another question with sourcing.
Yeah.
Just something very basic. I want to understand what are the materials which you guys may be sourcing centrally, and because I saw some links which said they were to be procured from sites in China,
Right.
which I'm afraid would be may not be possible for us to do right now. So if we could have a clarity, then we would start already looking for suppliers in Calcutta. That's where my lab is located, to look out for vendors who may be selling these equipments or these raw materials.
Sure.
There's a I think there's a shortage around. So if that could give us a head start in the entire project.
So I'm just going to pass that on to Vaibhav.
Actually, Anul has raised his hand. Anul, would you like to say something before I go?
Yeah, but I think you better do yours first, because mine is a specific question to Gorba, who I saw is on this call. Or maybe I can talk to him later separately. In either case.
Yeah, that's fine. So I was just saying, in terms of sourcing, what I mean, a few of us are thinking, and this is again something that we can discuss with the prototyping groups once tomorrow to be able to better understand, is that it might make sense to centrally order two things, which is zeolites and compressors.
Yeah.
As a bulk order and disseminate. Apart from that, we think that everything else should be available in every state.
Yeah.
All right.
Huh?
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thought, but tomorrow, once we talk to a few more other labs that have been successfully prototyping this or have made certain progress, we'll be able to better understand as to what is happening on the ground in other parts of the country, to be able to understand what needs to be sourced centrally, what needs to be sourced locally.
Yeah, but I think, Ankit, to your point and to what Vaibhav is saying, we'll have some more clarity tomorrow once we have a roundup with the advanced prototyping labs. Does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
that answers it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So we got
Yeah.
some more people who've raised their hands. A to C, I don't know what your name is.
Yeah. Good evening, madam. I'm Chandrasekhar Hiremat. I
Hi.
have raised that hand.
Yes,
This thing.
please
Okay,
go ahead.
yeah. For your information, you are discussing regarding the legal clearance for these devices.
Right.
And getting the approval, even if you rename it as a non-medical device also, since it is connected to the patient, there are some basic safety and EMI, EMC compatibility testing has to be done.
Right.
Because for your information, last year we have developed a low-cost ventilator that was for some corporate company. At this moment, I'll not be able to give the details of that company. But yeah, we renamed it as a emergency breathing assist system. But we have to clear the human safety, considering the since it is connected to the patient. We have to take care of the electrical safety, EMI, EMC,
Right.
and yeah, EST protections. So these things we have to consider it. We have got a knowledge, and then we can share it in the at appropriate time or with appropriate people.
Okay, so Mr. Chandrasekhar, I would request you to join the subgroup on certifications and approvals, because
Yes.
in that you have an experience with at least the ventilators last time. I think it'll be very beneficial for the collective to have insights from you.
Yeah, I'll join that group and then I'll take it forward.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Last hand that is risen is, I think, Sai Prem.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. My name is Sai Prem. I'm from Andhra Pradesh. And here there are few issues which we are facing, is like different types of zeolite available in the local market. So we would like to identify which zeolite should we procure from them.
Sure.
And the second thing is, can we use like as the pump which is prescribed by Oxykit is not available in our area. So can we use the pumps which are available here, like with the tank, or any other alternatives which the engineering team can suggest?
Again, I can try and answer some parts of it, and Anul, please correct me wherever I'm wrong. In terms of when it comes to the zeolite, you're looking for sodium 13x zeolite and grain size 0.4 to 0.8 mm. So you want to be specific to that. The smaller the grain size, the better. Larger grain size won't work. You can also look at lithium-based zeolite. However, lithium-based zeolite will be more expensive. So that is something that you'll have to watch out for. You can share whatever zeolites are available in the group, and people will be able to validate it for you if you need, because enough people over there have done enough research on this. Now, I guess the second question regarding the compressor, it needs to be an oil-free compressor. Number one, that's very important. So make sure that's oil-free. When it comes to tank or tankless, we're technically experimenting with both of them, but what you're looking for is a flow rate which is over 200 liters per minute. So you have to be very careful about that one, because you want a lot of force to be able to push that air through the zeolite, because at the exit, what you're looking at is about 20 liters per minute coming to the patient. So to be able to get that number, you need to have at least 200 liters per minute pressure going inside it. Those are the two major parts. Anul, do you have a comment on the tank versus tankless yet?
Yeah, just quick thing. So 200 liters per minute is the capacity in terms of how much it can push, but that is also separate from pressure. So usually compressors have a rating of a certain amount of liters per minute at a particular pressure. So if you increase the pressure, the liters per minute go down, and vice versa. And there's usually a graph that tells you, but based on what Oxykit recommends, I think it's 180 liters a minute for, I think, 3 bar pressure, and 150 liters a minute for roughly 6 bar pressure. So that's like the range within which, you purity on the outlet side. It definitely has to be oil-free, and I think for this kind of application, the recommended horsepower would be in the range of 2 to 2.5 horsepower. So if you're using any smaller pump, like most dental pumps are 1 horsepower, they will work, but you will not get the 25 LPM output, for example. So if you're okay with that, that could be used in some cases, for example. But yeah, as Vaibhav said, we are going to try with both tank and tankless versions. The advantage with the tanked version is that your compressor occasionally gets to rest because it switches off when the tank is full. So it gets some breathing time to cool down itself. Whereas a tankless version will be running continuously 24/7, and the compression heads, they heat up quite a bit. So then you have to consider things like how do you cool the compressor and so on. So there are certain, I think, operational issues that you will have to consider when deciding one or the other. Some amount of experimentation will tell us which works better.
Okay, perfect.
And
Thanks.
that's it from my part.
Okay, so that's hopefully that answers your question, Sai Prem. And maybe for more information as well, you can be part of the engineering group and the sourcing, engineering and sourcing groups, because that's where a lot of conversation is, while we of course consolidate the BOM and others in the next couple of days. Abhi, you want to go next?
Yeah, I was just going to address that question slightly differently and say these are the questions which are part of the bill of material as well as the FAQs associated with those. And these are very genuine questions from lab owners like, oh, if I don't have this, then can I use that? And it's not just for compressors or zeolites, but also a couple other things like, solenoid walls or Arduino versions and things like that. So this is going to be part of the training that we are trying to start and point you in the right direction where to find the latest bill of material that are approved, in the sense that they are then we have tested that those works. And then there is potentially links to like where you can source those approved materials from, or a similar spec locally if you can find one. So keep those coming, but we do intend to actually kind of address all of these as part of the training to make sure it's repeatable and scalable as we grow the group. Thanks.
That's perfect. Thank you. And I have last somebody who's raised their hand, Satvik. If you want to go ahead and ask your question, and then I'm going to close it because we're going to stick to the unconference format. So if you want to say something, please add to the agenda before we get on the call.
Hey, thanks a lot. I'm Satvik from Andhra Pradesh. I would like to add something to the tank as well, and to the compressor motor. According to my research, the Indian manufacturers, the compressor motors are really heavy. That means they weigh a lot, actually up to 200 kilograms, actually, according to my research. Somewhere between 30 kilograms to 200 kilograms. So the weight and the area is also a considerable thing in this case. And my question is about oxygen purity. You said that you get only 92% oxygen purity, right? But I've been seeing on internet that you need anywhere between 95 to 98%, or even 99% oxygen purity. Do the doctors or hospitals or the people who would like to use this setup, would they want to, would they risk it and take it if it's only 92% oxygen purity?
On that, Satvik, I think while I was mentioning earlier as well, there were a couple of use cases of the concentrator, and I went back to that in the beginning as well for the benefit of everyone. So, like I said, these are not primary. This is not primary aid because it can't replace the oxygen cylinder. So it's secondary aid for offloading healthcare infrastructure, because at the moment there is a lot that is going on, and the hospitals are flooded with people of multiple different oxygen concentrators at the moment. So these help stabilize at 92%, but like I said, secondary aid, but primary use cases to offload the cylinders and the primary aid, that is the oxygen cylinder. So obviously it's not going to be replaced with it, but it can aid and it can help offload. So that's where we're coming. That's where we
All
get.
right. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm okay, Ashish, if you have quick something to add, otherwise I'm gonna call it an evening so that we can close.
Yes. You guys, I think dinner also must be pending. So I'll keep it very quick. Abhi, last task is done. I'm just looking at what should be the next task. So if we can go to Trello or something where you can assign things, then many other people can also, take some tasks and reduce the burden on all of you guys on the documentation side.
No, that'll be great. Actually, that's fantastic, Ashish. Thank you for pointing that out. We are hopefully trying to structure that in a way that we can delegate more work to more volunteers on the group. So wherever that you think that you're useful, please add yourself into the subgroup so that, then we can get you assigned to something that I think as a group that we will need.
Got it. Okay. So update on the standard side is there is a lab which is willing to test in Pune for free, and they've done ventilators as well as concentrators, and they're willing to give us a test report which can be used to get a certification from ICMR. Then the risk kind of pushes to the other side. Standard doc is shared with the people in the engineering team.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I know. We spoke about that, I think, briefly, and I was getting in touch with the lab. If you want to have a preliminary conversation with them, please go ahead as well, while I also reach out to them.
I've done that. They're just waiting for now the next step. So we are clear with that part.
Okay, that's awesome. So in that case, once we have one or two of these prototypes up and running, I think we'll start. Pune is not far away from Goa, so hopefully ours will be ready soon as well. So maybe we can, get it tested there. And I think maybe a possible lab is also developing it in Pune. So maybe we can check it out with the Pune labs as well.
Sure, definitely.
Okay,
Thank you.
amazing. Okay, perfect. So I think we've covered a lot of ground and exciting to see everyone participating on all levels. Just to close the call, a couple of things that you can do to be part of the collective is one, if you are working in your individual capacities, you can start joining the labs once the information is open and public after tomorrow's onboarding of the labs that have registered. So we can start connecting you to your local labs, and you can obviously help them out in the ways that you can in an individual capacity. For labs who are registered, please wait for our inputs on how we will be onboarding you tomorrow, or at least through the call, or tomorrow or day after. And lastly, please share and get more people join the M19 collective, because the more we are, the faster we can do this. And that's the whole objective of this entire initiative, to get as many of you and all of us involved, so that this problem is sort of tackled in a much faster and decentralized manner. So calling it a night with that. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you guys tomorrow once again.